Ladies and gentlemen, Gungans and droids across the galaxy, buckle on down because today we're going to be talking about the very best first Zetas to invest in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Now, this is going to be is building upon a guide that we made earlier this year, which has seemed to be incredibly helpful for a lot of you guys. Highly recommend you check this out. Card in the top right-hand corner. If you're a new player playing Galaxy of Heroes and trying to find the most efficient path to really enjoy Galaxy of Heroes in its most streamlined experience, in my opinion, check out this guide. I kind of walk you through what characters to farm, what ships to farm, and kind of in what order to do it. But I kind of want to talk a little bit about the Zetas you want to start investing in, because once you get into your 80s, the level 80s, you're going to be able to apply a Zeta, and Zetas transform a character drastically, or at least you want to get the Zetas that transform a character exactly. And we're going to be giving Zetas that are practical, because not everyone's going to have Jedi Knight Revan as a free-to-play player in Galaxy of Heroes. So based on the guide, if you go through chapters 1 and 2, by the time you get through those 2 chapters that I outlined in there, you should already have some Separatists, some Rebels, Palpatine, Thrawn, and if you farm those characters, you should also have access to things like Grand Master Yoda, and of course, Padme and some Galactic Republic characters. Let's dive bomb into it. We're on my free-to-play account today. A little side note, haven't played on this account for a month straight. A lot of people ask me, are you going to make more free-to-play guides? I've already exhausted so many of those free-to-play guide topics, and I already watched 3 accounts on a daily basis. This 4th account, when there's not a lot of videos to make, not going to be playing it as much, but I still want to try to give advice when I can for things that I think I have not covered or need updating, such as this Zeta video. So we're going to start this list off with the Zetas that I think should be the most important Zetas for a beginner player, because you farmed all these characters, whether you farm Separatists for Padme, farmed Rebels for Palpatine and Thrawn, and then you have some Jedi for Yoda. You want to kind of use your first Zeta on one of those big legendary characters, that being Padme, Palpatine, Thrawn, or Yoda. In my guide, I told you guys, you should probably go after Separatists first. I think the Separatists are a better team. They have a lot more end-game viability than Phoenix, and they unlock you a better quality legendary character. So in my opinion, if you're going through my guide, the first Zeta you should be getting, of course, you have to wait till level 85 to get Padme, but that's kind of how this guide's kind of working you through. You can't apply Zetas until you're in your 80s anyways, but you should have Padme by the time you're getting ready for your first Zeta. And I'm going to say unwavering courage, the Padme Amidala lead is going to be the one you're going to want to try to do your best to give as your first Zeta in Galaxy of Heroes. The protection up turning into a built-in tenacity up, which prevents debuffs as well as critical hits. This is the key Zeta that makes Padme such a good all-around light side ally, and more importantly, a Galactic Republic leader. I absolutely love Padme. She's incredibly important for things in the Hoth territories. If you're doing Hoth territories as a beginner free-to-play player, she's going to make it so easy, and it's going to eventually work your way into being a solid meta team in Arena, Grand Arena, and of course, you're going to be using that later on for Geonosis light side territory. This Zeta is not going anywhere anytime soon. It's a very powerful Zeta, probably the most powerful Zeta for a beginner free-to-play player that doesn't have access to Revan and all that, and it's going to be viable for a long time. And this isn't going to be a part of the list, but I highly recommend, if you have Padme, go ahead and just finish her up. Give her always a choice, because that protection up, which the leadership amplifies greatly by giving it the anti-debuffs and anti-critical hits, you want to also be sure you give this eventually too, so you don't lose the protection up and it can't be dispelled, and it increases the protection up to 40%. Padme Amidala, no brainer. The whole point of that new guide is to try to guide you through what I think is going to be the best beginner path for free-to-play players. Easy, solid choice. And now we're going to kind of build upon this. Let's build upon Padme a little bit. If you're going through the Padme route, let's talk about some supporting Zetas that are solid as well. And then we're going to talk about some other things like the Separatist, Palpatine, as well as Jedi. The next Zeta is going to be Jedi Knight Anakin, Righteous Fury. This is really the main engine to keep letting Padme take as many turns as possible, to keep topping off the team, to keep Deathmark off for if you see a lot of Darth Revans out there. Righteous Fury with Jedi Knight Anakin is going to be a key Zeta eventually to keep your Galactic Republic a solid staple team in Galaxy Heroes. Padme is going to get a bonus turn anytime Anakin gets a bonus turn, and this works when someone falls below 50% health. Anakin gets ticked off, gets a bonus turn, Padme does, and Padme can quickly, for example, give you another round of cleansing that she has on her special to feed health, cleanse your team. This is going to be a core Zeta. The only regret I have with my farming guide is I didn't really emphasize enough that if you have extra energy to spare in the beginning after you farm all the other stuff I mentioned, farm Jedi Knight Anakin, because he's going to be a core component to Padme. Padme and Anakin are kind of the core for the Galactic Republic team out there. Next up on the list, we're going to have Ahsoka Tano. Now, really, until you get General Kenobi, which is going to be kind of far down the line for the average free-to-play player in Galaxy Heroes who's not jumping into a top-end guild, or a solid guild, I should say. Ahsoka Tano is going to be really the last core Zeta you're going to want for Padme Amidala. Daring Padawan, you're going to want Ahsoka Tano to constantly be able to assist. If there's a Galactic Republic ally and a Galactic Republic leader, and they're using a special ability, boom, she's going to be assisting. And when you read the basic ability, when you finally do max it out, or at least close to max it out right here, you're going to be able to constantly get her to assist and cleanse the team passively with her basic ability. And she can also recover health, and this is incredibly important, and it dispels buffs on opposing enemies as well. So this is going to be a very key ability to give you even more extra cleansing opportunities on your Galactic Republic team, as well as a constant buff dispel when Anakin's not doing his AoE. So really, if you're going down that Separatist route to unlock Padme, you're going to do the Padme lead, Padme unique ability, Jedi Anakin, then Ahsoka Tano. Those Zetas aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Right there, those are basically 4, but we're going to say 3 Zetas. We're not counting Padme's unique ability, so we can fit more Zetas in here. But let's now talk about the Separatists. Now, at the beginning, I said the new free-to-play farming guide is going to be Separatist first. It used to be Phoenix first. Phoenix you could still do first if you want to. They get Palpatine and Thrawn first. As I said, Separatists give you Padme. Padme is just a better legendary character. And really, Phoenix, you don't want to put any Zetas in it. They have a hard drop-off. They are not viable in the mid and end game of Galaxy Heroes. So let's talk about the Separatists, because they're extremely powerful in the beginning game, mid game, and they're useful everywhere in the end game, at least as the game stands, and Geonosis dark side territory. So these Zetas aren't going anywhere. So what I want to talk about here, Newt Gunray, Viceroy's Reach. This is incredibly powerful. It's tied to the unique ability. At the beginning game, you're going to be using most likely Newt, Dooku, B2, Magna Guard, Poggle. Eventually, you're going to plug in Grievous when you farm him through the fleet shipments. And eventually, as you progress farther and farther and farther, you're probably going to maybe start using Newt Gunray outside of a leader slot. The great thing about Viceroy's Reach, he doesn't need to lead for this Zeta to be solid. Anytime a Separatist ally is inflicting a debuff, they also deal 5% max health damage, which can't be evaded. Separatists are all about debuffs. First off, Newt Gunray, for example, with dubious dealings, applies speed down, and it applies extortion. Extortion does a crazy amount of stuff. Extortion doesn't trigger the unique ability, but just in general, extortion is just so powerful. And then things like Grievous doing AoE target locks, doing stuns, Dooku with shocks and stuns, B2 with buff dispels that also apply buff immunity. You can really chop away at the enemy team. In my opinion, the beginner player meta really kind of consists of Newt Gunray. We're going to talk about Jedi in a moment, Bastila, Palpatine, and Padme Amidala. Those are the 4 key things, and Phoenix are kind of in there as the 5th. Again, Phoenix gets pushed out so much. Viceroy's Reach, incredibly powerful. Separatists are an important team in Galaxy Heroes, and Newt Gunray is such a flexible character. I've called him the best 100% easily accessible free-to-play character in Galaxy Heroes, and that Zeta only adds on top of that. Next up, let's build upon the Separatists a little bit more. We got 2 more Seppies here, because as I said, the first team you're going to build up is Separatists, and if you want a good Galactic Republic team, we talked about those Zetas. Let's kind of wrap up with the rest of the Separatists. I think you should probably at least have the core Zetas before you move on to those more endgame Separatist lineups. Count Dooku. Do what I didn't do. I just gave Dooku this Zeta recently, and it's been a Zeta I've been wanting to give for a long time. Flawless Repost. Count Dooku, so good. He attacks out of turn a lot. For beginner players, this is going to make them smash their phone just by Dooku and his natural ability with Flawless Repost, but the Zeta giving you more damage. It's also letting you recover protection. One of the biggest downsides of Separatists until you get B1 Battle Droid is a good amount of protection and health recovery. Of course, you could throw Daka in there to get some health recovery, but this is going to allow Dooku to be able to kind of carry his own weight, keep topping off. He's a frail character, but this allows him to put out more damage, give him the critical hit immunity, and he's going to keep recovering protection. And this is incredibly important for 1, just an arena team, but 2, in territories, whether you're doing Hoth Darkside or eventually Geonosis territories where he has to solo some phases just with Asajj Ventress. This is going to be the Zeta to help you get 4 out of 4s in those territory battles. So this right here, don't sleep on this Zeta too long. I ignored the Zeta for way too long, and I just finally got to. This is my most recent Zeta I finally applied on my last character on my 2 main accounts. So important Zeta. And lastly, General Grievous, Metalloid monstrosity, unique ability. Now, He's a slow farm, but as I said, when you finally have access to fleet shipments, Grievous is definitely one of the first characters you're going to be farming out of there. And eventually, you're going to want to give him Metalloid Monstrosity because, one, when you're still using your Newt Gunner Elite to unlock Padme to do your arena, grand arenas, you're going to have Grievous in there inside of that plugged-in last spot. And anytime a Separatist or Droid ally is being defeated, Grievous dispels all debuffs on himself, resets his abilities, and gains an immediate bonus turn. Great when he's not leading because you're gonna have Separatists. If Newt Gunner dies, and he will die twice, he's gonna trigger this ability 2 times. Grievous puts out a lot of damage. He's gonna be able to keep doing his massive AoE abilities right here, or perhaps use Skittering Horde to stun the enemy. This is a character you don't want to sleep on. And eventually, Metalloid Monstrosity is going to build you up later on when you get to more of the late mid game and the super end game. You're going to have a Grievous Separatist droid team. And Grievous is not the same. He is just not the same without Metalloid Monstrosity. This is going to make your opponents think twice before killing a Separatist or droid on your team. So that really completes the Separatist branch. We completed the Galactic Republic branch. But now, let's talk a bit about farming that Chapter 2, which gives you some Rebels and some Jedi. Let's talk about Jedi, then we'll kind of talk a little bit about Palpatine towards the end. Bastila is going to be a key character. Now, if you follow my chapters that I laid out for you in that farming guide, you should be farming Bastila the second you get her. You can farm her pretty early in the game, and her leadership ability right here, Initiative, probably one of the best bang for your buck Zetas. And as I said, it kind of defines that beginner meta that I mentioned. Bastila, you have Padme, then you have Newt Gunray, Emperor Palpatine. This is incredibly important. You get taunt on Jedi tanks, which is fantastic. So you can make things like, I don't know, Old Ben pre-taunt for you. And you get 150% tenacity and protection up, which is going to be a hard counter towards Palpatine lineups out there and makes your team super durable. And especially at the beginning game when characters aren't dealing as much damage and they're not as durable, this is going to be incredibly important. Of course, we're not mentioning the other stuff that comes with it, the turn meter gains and whatnot. Bastila, she's a great character. Eventually, you're going to be using her mostly of Jedi Knight Revan down the line more once you start getting into more of that mid-ish, late mid-ish game. And still, even at end game, people split up Jedi Knight Revan and Bastila. So the point I'm getting at, this is Zeta you're always going to be using no matter what. You're going to be using Jedi Knight Revan sometimes fine, but I see, for example, people using Bastila up against Supreme Leader Kylo and putting Jedi Knight Revan to the side. It's a solid Zeta that's always going to have its use, and it's very flexible if you want to split up your Jedi because you have a lot of Jedi in the game. But we can't talk about Jedi without Jolie Bindo. Again, this is another character that you should be farming, kind of like Bastila, as early as possible because you need to get these characters for Jedi Knight Revan. We don't need to talk too much about it. If you've seen my streams, you've seen videos, that looks pretty bad, is what makes Jedi so annoying. You could be going up against Grievous, your whole team dead. Luckily, Jolie is so hard to kill because of his unique abilities, and he's able to keep reducing his cooldowns. You can keep bringing your Jedi, all the Jedi, back to life over and over and over again. Not much to it. If your Jedi dies, Jolie's going to be incredibly important. Use him with the Bastila lead, and of course, later on, he becomes even more broken under the Jedi Knight Revan lead because Jedi Knight Revan saves already your first Jedi that's about to die, and then Jolie can revive all the Jedi yet again. So if you're going for your Jedi, Bastila Jolie is the combo to have. The last Jedi we got to talk about before we get to number 10 on our list, Grandmaster Yoda. Now, if you farmed that first segment, Separatist, and you farmed as well, we talked about, for example, our Phoenix, which gives you 2 Jedi. Here, you can finally get yourself Grandmaster Yoda. Bastila, for example, you use Bastila, you can use Ezra, Kanan, Ahsoka. There's a lot of Jedi combinations that our farming guide leads you to. Grandmaster Yoda, the ones they need to want to get. Don't give it to his leadership ability. His leadership is not really used anywhere in the game. You're going to want to give him Battle Meditation, Foresight for 2 turns, 50% turn meter gain chance, and an additional 10% turn meter for each other living Jedi ally. Yoda, with this ability and the rest of his kit, bounces off the wall, taking turns left and right. You want to give this to him so he can constantly keep giving protection up to your team. And by the way, not just for Bastila and Jedi, you can plug Yoda in your Galactic Republic team. Do Padme, Jedi Anakin, do Ahsoka, Yoda, and then put in 5s or Captain Rex, whatever you want. And this is going to be even better because Protection Up has synergies with Padme, but in Bastila team, Protection Up gives you that bonus protection so you can keep resisting and keep stacking up your protection. Incredibly powerful ability. This is incredibly important for those territory battles, Grand Arena. This is Zeta. That's kind of core. It's one of the core engines for your Jedi, no matter what game mode you're playing in and no matter what Jedi leader or Galactic Republic team you're using. And then finally, lastly, we talk about Emperor Palpatine. Now, Phoenix Legion of Palpatine and Thrawn. Palpatine, I would say he's also part of that beginner meta, and he kind of keeps himself all decent throughout the rest of the game. He's not top end game at the where I play, but he's still a solid leader to have. Emperor of the Galactic Empire. And it's all about that massive turn meter gains. Anytime a debuff is expiring on an enemy, Sith and Empire units are getting 5% turn meter. When you toss in Vader, Bastila, one of the first beginner Sith teams to run is Palpatine, Bastila, Nihilus, deadly combo, and of course throw in Vader in there. Once the debuff starts spreading, you start running circles around your enemy, and it gives you some flexibility to plug in Empire and Sith units. It's not a Zeta that's going to be incredibly powerful at the end game. It's a decent Zeta that I still use to this date, but at the beginning game, it is going to be very competitive, especially against those that aren't using Bastila Jedi or Padme's leadership Zeta. This is going to be a very powerful character to be using there. But really, I think your Zetas are going to probably, your very first Zeta is probably going to lean more towards Padme. But if you finish Padme, consider these other characters that you're going to be using for various legendary events, various territories, grand arenas, and arenas. Hopefully this video is helpful. Again, if you're looking for more free-to-play beginner advice, most likely I've already made a video about it. I made over 1,000 videos on Star Wars Galaxy Heroes. That farming guide I referenced to earlier lays down the track on how to go down Galaxy Heroes in an efficient way to get the most content and characters as possible tackled. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like if you did enjoy the video. Comment down below for all of you other players who have a realistic idea of how the beginning game is. Feel free to recommend what Zetas would you give for a beginner player, or emphasize even more the Zetas I recommended today. Thank you guys so much for watching. And Gary, time to roll out the outro. Subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And I'll see you guys later. All right, Gary, roll it out.